We already did the basic Python, and we learned many basic data structure in Python. And this chapter, we are going to learn more about the function and the control flow in Python. As you might know, we already learned the first part of this PowerPoint. We need to understand about the colon and the indented block. And we can see the structure like this one. And as I remember, we already learned some part of the if function. Oh, not here. Okay. So we already learned how to write if function. And then if we have two different conditions, if it is true and if it is false. And we also learn how if we have more than two conditions. So we can apply with if, else, and else. And for every line, when you finish with the control structure, you need to put colon. And then you need to put what we call as the indented block. So this is what we call as the indented or indentation. Okay. So in the PowerPoint, I mentioned this as the indented block. So you need to put some space. Okay. Now we can see if you learn other programming languages like Java or C, C#, C++, they have the similar structures. So we have three kind of conditional. The first is if then, and then we can have if then else, or we can have nested if. So there will be if in another if. So the full structure will be something like this one. If you have a condition, this is the first condition, then you can make the statement. If you have another condition, you put else if, and then you put the true statement of this condition. If you have another condition, you can put another statement for the true statement in this condition. Else will be the condition not included in these three conditions. Loops. Okay. In any programming languages, we also need to understand how to define the loop. So there are two different loop functions in Python. We can use while and we can use for. And for the while loop, you need to define one index. If you use for loops, you can just use the index and then it will be automatically added by one, or it will be automatically moved to the next index. So let's see if I have if I use for loop, I can have an index to define. Let's say it is I, and I can have a number, and the number I can define with range. So if we use the number range equals to 5, it means I want to print the first 5 numbers, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the number will be like n minus 1. So do not forget to put colon here. And let's see, I want to print I. So you can get the numbers from 0 until n minus 1. This is one. You can put the same like index in list. If you have only one number, it means this is the ending number. But if you want to define the starting number, let's say I want to start from 2, and then I want to end the numbers with 5. Then it will start from 2, and then it will be ended by n minus 1. Okay. Now, let's suppose I have a list, and then the list is a kind of number with, maybe I can just 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, like this one. So I hope by now you already remember what is the difference between list, tuple, set, dictionary. Now I'm going to check each of the element in the list C. I can use any variable name to indicate every element, and I want to check for every element in the C. So I can print, and then I will see the result like this one. So for I, which is every element that exists in C, I would like to print. Then I will print 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I want to check how about the length of the C, so it is the size of the list C, then I can get 6, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 elements. Let's suppose I want to you know how to use for. Let's use another loop function, which is while. If you use for, you can just define one variable, and then the variable will be automatically run, and it will be added by 1. But if you use while, you need to define one variable. Let's suppose I use j, and I start j with 0. So I can define j. If j is still smaller than the length of C, so let's put the column here. I would like to print the j, and then I will add j with 1. Okay, what happened with this statement? Oh, I will get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is only a sequence number, but it will not print the element of C. So you can use like this this one is to print for every numbers that is in the index J. But if I want to print every element in the C, what should I do? If I want to print every element in C, and I can just call the list C, and then I call the index. In this case, you will get the value of every element in C. Okay, so we can use a different way to do with the while and the for, but this is the basic one. Later on, if you develop your own algorithm, yeah, hopefully you can try more with this while and the for loop. Yeah, this is the index for loop. I already explained this example. Let's suppose I have one variable name and it starts with 0. And I want to have a for loop and the range will be from 0 until the length of the data. So if the data in the particular index is greater than the data in the index 0, then the big index will be changed into a number chain. So can you guess what will be the result of this? So this will print, this will save what is the element in your list, which is the biggest. Okay, so you can try later. In programming languages like Java and Python, we have break and continue. Okay. Not all programming languages provide this kind of statement, but yeah, Python and Java have this break and continue. In Python, yeah, it supports the break statement that immediately terminate a while or for loop when executed within its body. So let's suppose I have this one. I have data, and then I would like to check for every number in the list or in this data. Okay, what is the result here? You can see an error. Why? Expected an indented block. So it means this one should be like this one. No result. Because yeah, we do not print anything. So let's suppose I put like here, print number. What does it mean? The first for loop is to indicate for every element in the data, and this is the number or the element index. If the number equals to 3, so if the number equals to 3, then break. Okay. And you can see this block. This is an indented block that is in the same line with if. Now let's suppose I put the print here. What will happen? It will print until 3, and then it will finish because we need to stop or we need to terminate this loop. So this break means we will terminate the loop. Let's suppose I have the same one, but now I do not use break, but I use continue. What is the difference? If I use continue, there is nothing different. So if it is continue, we can just continue. But here, you will print 3. Now let me make a little bit of different with the previous one. Let's suppose I make this one. So if I know the numbers, I check if the number is 3, then I will continue. The result is different. So when I know the number equals to 3, I will just continue. So when I continue, it will continue to the next element. I will not execute this statement. Okay. So the same with this one. When I make the break, I will just stop. I will not continue to the next element. Okay, so this is about the break and continue. Yeah, so Python also supports a continuous statement that causes the current iteration of a loop body to stop, but with subsequent passes of the loop proceeding as expected. So we still keep continuing to the next element. Okay, now we will learn other control statement. So this is about functions. In other programming language, they call method. In Python, they call as functions. Functions are defined using the keyword def, D-E-F. So def is like a definition, define. You want to define a function. Let's suppose I define a function display. And this function can have many statements. When we call the function, we just call the function name. So let's suppose I have this one. Yeah, this is the function because I start with def and then I put a name. You can define any name here. And if I call this function name, I would like to print help. So just display and yeah, I can get help. In a function, we can define it without and with parameters. If we have no parameters, you can put the any in parameters as blank. If we have one variable, yeah, it means this is a function with one parameter. You can have more than one parameters, so you can separate with comma, comma, comma. So for example, I want to make a, okay, let me just use this function. So I want to display and I'm going to display the word. What is the word here? Yeah, this is anything that you want to specify. And this variable name will be called in any of the statement inside the function. Let's suppose I have display sold. So I will see sold as the result. If I have display 5, a number, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Yeah, if you already joined computer programming with Java, for every of this parameter, you need to define also the data type. If you are going to enter a string, yeah, you need to define the parameter as string. If you want to include a number, yeah, you can just put the data type either integer or double. Functions, um, this establishes a new identifier as the name of function. Let's say I will give you one example about count, and it establishes the number of parameters that it expects, which defined as the function signature. So the function signature means, yeah, when we are we can have some inside numbers here, and let's say we have, yeah, this one is having 2 parameters, so we have like 2 signatures. You can have the idea that this is only 2 parameters, and also in the function we can put return statement. So let's see if I print this one, I will copy and paste this one. Now it becomes a little bit complex. We have list 1, and then we have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's suppose I want to make a function, and the function name is count1, and we have 2 parameters, data and target. I would like to start a variable n with 0, and I would like to do for loop. If every number in data we want to loop, and if the number equals to the target, so I'm going to add n by 1. Is it possible to have this one? So, yeah, if you still remember in Java, yeah, it's possible. In Python, in the new Python, they support this one, but if you use the old Python, they do not support. Yeah. So please check what is the Python version in your computer. Okay. So if you use the Python 2, it did not support with this plus equal. If you are joining the computer programming, I guess you know that this n plus equal 1 means n equal to n plus 1. So if the number equals to the target, please add the variable n with 1. And then print n after you finish the loop. Now let's check. When I call the function count1 list 1, so this becoming the data, okay, because this is the first parameter, and the 3, it becomes the value in the target. And after I run this function, it will start n equals 0. And what about number in data? Because the data here is the same with the list 1. So the data will be this list. And what about the target? The target is the value of the second parameter. And I would like to check for every number, if the number equals to 3, then please add n with 1. We have 3, this is 1. So n will be added only one time. Then n will become 1. Let's suppose I have another 3 here. Then it becomes 2. Okay. In the case that I do not want to print, okay, I want to get a value. In the first example, we just want to print what is the result after we finish the loop. But in the second example, we have the statements in the functions the same as what we did on the first example, but the only difference is we want to make a return statement. Maybe you will ask, what is the difference with the first example? In the first example, you are not able to put the value into one variable. Let's suppose I make a equals to count 1. Yeah, this is okay. But when you want to call a, nothing happens. You cannot get any value from a. But let's suppose I have this one with b. Okay. So I want to put the result of this count to this 3, 3 at the value, or let the result will be inserted into the variable b. So if I have like this b, so if I print b, I will get the value 1. Okay. So if you want to assign the value from a function into a variable, okay, you need to define the return statement. Okay. Yeah, this is only the detail for the function. When we have the information, there will be some passing information from the this into the parameter in the function. The parameter passing in Python follows the semantic of the standard assignment statement. So like this one, yeah, the target value is 3, so it follows this parameter. And the list, if we goes to here, then it goes to the data in the function. Okay. Now we also need to understand how we do some output. You already know what print. It is a built-in function. It is used to generate standard output to the console. And its simplest forms, it prints arbitrary sequence of arguments separated by space and followed by a trailing new line character. Yeah, I think this is also the same with the other programming languages. You can define the special character. Let's say in one print, you want to go to the next line, or in one print, you want to put some space. Okay? It's also possible. Let's say, yeah, I want to put the print maroon, 5. sorry, this one is better to change this one. Yeah. Sometimes the character in PowerPoint does not match with the character in Python. So the single quote before, if you check, the single quote does not match with the Python character because I think this single quote is using another character, Unicode character. So you need to change to match with Python. And you can see the result is a kind of sequence. So you want to combine with string, you want to combine string and numbers. You can just separate with comma. And if you want to put like some kind of new line character, you can put like this one, then maroon, and then we have the slash backslash n. It is to go to the next line, and then comma 5. Yeah, we will print another elements in the next line. A non-string argument x will be displayed as string. The non-string argument, for example, numbers, yeah, it will be displayed in string. Input. Okay, so in this case, I would like to explain only a simple input. The primary means for acquiring information from the user console is a built-in function named input. This function display a prompt. I think you know a prompt. So it's a kind of pop-up, and we need to wait the user to insert something so the computer can recognize what is the user input. If gives as an optional parameter, and then waits until the user enters some sequence of characters followed by the return key. So if we press return, if we press enter, then it will be inserted into the input. The return value of the function is the string of characters that were entered strictly before the return key. So let's see if I do, suppose I have age. I am going to input, enter your age. It will give you a prompt. Let's say my age is 5. Then if you get your age, what will you get is a string. How do you know that it is a string? Because we have the code. Okay. Here is the code. 5 is a string. Actually, I want to get this as a number. How? Then you need to do something. It's equals to the integer input, enter your age. You can convert the input from the user immediately into integer. Enter your age 20, and then if I want to get age, now it is an integer. So this is a built-in class in Python. When you want to use string, you can use str. If you want to convert to integer, you use int. Or if you want to change to float, then you can just use float. And if you enter 20, it will be a float. Okay. Now you can also do, for example, you want to make a kind of function Yeah, this one is already converted. Okay. Now let's suppose I want to make like this one. So I want to get the input from the user. Oop, I cannot. So I want to get the input from the user. Let's say I just have the integer. And then I want to calculate like this one. The maximum heart rate equals to 206.9 minus 0.67 multiplied by h. So this is a formula from the medical science. So the maximum heart rate would be some of in this range. And then we want to check the target. So the target is somehow is 0.65 multiplied by the maximum heart rate. So I want to know about the target. Your target fat burning heart rate is, you can put your target result here. So there is a step, what we call as a sequence. First, you want to get the input from the user, and then you will calculate the maximum heart rate first based on the person's age, and then you want to inform the user that the user should achieve this target for a good fat burning heart rate. And if you run first, it will ask you the age, let's say 20. Okay. So your target fat burning heart rate is 125 something something. Yeah, this is like 125 beats per minute. Okay. Any questions? You don't understand the meaning by n equals this one. Okay. So as I mentioned to you, this is the same with the n equals to n plus 1. So the variable n, the new variable, the new value in this n will be the old value of the n, which is 0, plus 1. So the new n will be 1. So if the variable n here is starting with 1, then it will be 1 plus 1. So the result will be 2. Okay. Okay, thank you for your question. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, I didn't check. Okay. Okay, then let's have a break time, and then I will continue after the break.